Hello, everyone. Delighted to see you all here this afternoon, nighttime for me. And welcome to the lightning lesson on building an AI agentic native workplace. People are going to continue trickling in, and Jeremy's going to be letting him in. But I think I'm going to go ahead and start with the introductions and whatnot, and get that out of the way because we have a lot of exciting stuff to cover in the next 30 minutes. And it wouldn't really cripple your learning journey if you miss the who and where from. So, who? My name is Lev Gorlov. I am joined here by my colleague, Jeremy Kirschbaum. And together, we are the founders of Handshake, a generative AI consultancy and software studio. And what we do is we build custom AI platforms for companies. And these platforms are often kind of like off the beaten path from typical AI applications. Our clients are companies who want generative tools which replicate their unique voice, culture, and what we call knowledge craft, or business intelligence is a more run-of-the-mill term. Proprietary methodologies for arriving from raw data to insights, to put it very bluntly. And that's what we'll be mostly talking about today, is how do you automate your knowledge craft? Because it involves a lot of custom development and trying to hand off established services to like a generative system, which is a very new idea in our age. And I'm talking very general right now just to kick things off, but I'll be unpacking these concepts of knowledge craft, generation, automation more as we move forward. And likewise, these applications that you see on the screen, I'll be delving into them a little more down the line. But our portfolio spans a lot of different types of solutions, from custom chatbots to specialized code generators, topic models, user behavior, and so on. And in the 5 years of doing this work, we've also extracted some evergreen principles, which we find to work across all these use cases, and even across AI eras, which seem to span, I don't know, a couple months each these days. The reason why we're able to extract some evergreen concepts is because we actually started our work as consultants and writers. And so, of course, we had to put a framework on it all. Don't feed a consultant bread, just let him feast on conceptual frameworks and he'll be delighted. So like, we just had to like put a nice wrapper around it once we started like getting our first battle scars. But what differentiates us from mere consultants is that our frameworks derive from doing. This is not armchair philosophy. We deliver insights from creating AI applications since GPT-2 and use our experience providing strategic guidance to Fortune 500 companies in order to distill that experiential knowledge into concrete deliverables. All this insight we deliver in our 4-week AI course, which starts on September 15th. And what you'll get out today is just a slice of only the conceptual payload of the course. Only half of the course is conceptual, like what the day is going to be like. But because we as a team learn through doing, we know that the best way you'll learn is also through doing. So major section of our course would be hand-on prototyping with no code tools, no coding experience necessary. So check out our course. This is kind of like a sneak preview of what this is going to look like. Unfortunately, I can't do a lot of the hands-on part because it takes a while. So instead, let's just talk purely strategically for now, and let's talk about agents. Let's talk about agents. What are agents? Why agents? The Institute of the Future painted a not-so-distant future in which there are more AI agents in existence on this planet than humans, which is a weird thing to think about, that there will be more decision-making, kind of these like avatars, surreal entities roaming the internet, and there'll be more of them than us. And there's a compelling reason why we're rapidly moving in that direction. Generative AI, to think very broadly, has given us an industrial capacity to produce novelty. And that's a weird concept, so I'll let that sink in for a while. So back in the day, we industrialized manufacturing. We could make tools on a conveyor belt. Then we industrialized agriculture. Then we industrialized media. We industrialized war. But now we can industrialize and automate novelty itself. We can create compelling written visual content, functional code, innovative ideas, and insights at humanly impossible scale, because that's what industrialization entails. Is like you do what you've done 1 per hour before, and you maximize it. Now you can do 1,000 per minute. And we did that with novelty. And so not can we only create new content and new ideas, we can also create new choices. And the last one seems a little bit out of place, but I'd like to hang on to it for a second because I think that part of that we can industrially generate choices does a great job at defining agents, which before we dive into strategy, we should really make sure we are on common ground in our terms, because this term agent has been harassed so much by fiction and media and advertisement that it's like basically applied everywhere, and there's no real common understanding of what really is an agent. So today I'll offer a definition of agents that has 3 points. So one, it's non-deterministic, or in other words, creative, as in you give it the same task, the exact same task twice, it's going to do it differently the second time than the first time. The second point is that it doesn't just create words or pictures, it creates choices and decisions which arrive at a certain goal. So just like a prompt for a picture of a dog delivers you the picture of the dog, but leaves much creative liberty to the model and how the dog looks like, what the breed is, what the background is. So with agents, you like prompt it to achieve a certain goal, and you'll probably get your, it'll probably realize your goal, hopefully, but the model exercises creative freedom in the steps it takes to reaching that goal. So if there's an unwritten canvas into the pathway from where you are now to realizing that goal, and it draws that path for you. And to really make sure we differentiate agents from choices made, novel choices made in writing or painting, we'll add a third criterion here, which is that the model needs to interact with something outside of itself. So the model is interacting with something like an external world, like a data set on your local company server, or maybe it is a web page, or it could be folders in your local device. What's important here is that these things weren't in the model when it was created. The agent is looking out into the world and making choices into something that it hasn't been met with before. And of course, I don't need to tell you, this is a groundbreaking revolution. It is a groundbreaking revolution in robotics, a revolution in HR, law enforcement, and many, many fields. But today, I want to like really kind of prune and hone down what we're talking about, to specifically talk about what this revolution brings to, as I said, knowledge craft. You may have never thought of your work in that way, and may not be sure where knowledge craft is involved in what you do. But think of a time when you composed a plan for delivering a product, or you tried a new approach in your weekly huddle, or provided insight to your collaborators to increase their efficiencies. These are all knowledge craft in their own right. It is using information you have available to drive decision-making towards a particular goal. And that's what agents, as I said, excel at. That's what differentiates them from all other generative systems. Plugging in agents into your knowledge craft is not just more. It's not just more insight, more efficiency, more deliverables. It's also a shift in quality of insight because it frees your hands from the busy work of looking for information and making sense of it. It allows you to look and make sense of things at scales unprecedented before, while freeing your mental resources to the actual, like the aha moments, the eurekas of innovative breakthrough. So it's not a quantitative shift as much as it is a qualitative shift. And of course, that is very exciting. Now, I know you all probably have a lot of questions popping up as I'm like fire hosing all this information on you. So the way we're going to do is if you could actually throw your questions into the Zoom chat, and we're going to address them after my half-an-hour session, because there's just a lot I want to get through and don't want to get bogged down in Q&A right now. But I have an unlimited amount of time for you after this 30-minute session. I'll be happy to pick this apart as much as you'd like once I'm done with the lecture. Okay, so let's talk about the 3 types of applications of how agents can improve knowledge work, just to get your gears turning and thinking like, okay, so how does this relate to me? The first one you've probably heard the most about is research synthesis and extension. It is sifting through, summarizing, and drawing takeaways from research, not research just like on scientific papers, but on your local data set, on your past meetings, on your email inbox. These things, which had natural language, were written in natural language and were kind of messy data because they have useful stuff, they have useless stuff. Before AI, there was no way to make sense of it or make any good of it. Now with AI, you can parse through all of that in total and extract useful insights out of that entire data set. What differentiates agents, you can thoughtfully engage with the material and make inference from all that information. And you can do that at a scale that no human could possibly do, even within their lifetime. Like, for example, it can draw connections from your very first document your company has ever created to the most recent one without forgetting its intent and line of thought while it poured through all that material between. No human could do that because they'll honestly meander and move on because it takes days and days and days to go through that information. Now that takes seconds. And the research synthesis part is cool. Like, of course, that's a breakthrough in itself, but there's that extension part that I find most exciting. Not only can you speak to your documents and like create an avatar expert of your documents, but now you can apply the craft that is between the lines captured in that document to new mediums. So, for example, my colleague Jeremy has co-written the book about leadership and AI with Distinguished Fellow of Institute for the Future, Bob Johansson. They cover a great amount of topics in 272 pages, but we obviously couldn't cover everything about AI and leadership. So we created this Agentic chatbot, which extends the themes, frameworks, and lessons of the book to any topic of your liking. So you could type in a new topic, which was never covered by the book, like HR in lean environments, and it'll write a new chapter of the book on that matter. And what's exciting is the lesson it offers will remain in line and bode well with the original book. It'll apply the same principles, and it'll be in the spirit of the book. So what we did technically is kind of made the book infinite. It'll reapply its core principles to whatever subject matter you want. So that's the first application. And I'm going to continue kind of giving you examples of like, yes, this is what you've seen before, but here's a thought of like how you can extend this beyond what you can typically think of and make something very different from this affordance that AI agents offer you. So the second deliverable is pattern recognition at scale. This kind of overlaps with the first thing with research, but the research part is more like needle in a haystack. It looks for that specific piece of information within your data set that is insightful for your specific use case. Here, what I'm talking about more is separating apples and oranges for your entire data set. These tools can offer a landscape view of your data. It can sort and categorize based on patterns it picks up on the go, and it can do that with very little human guidance. So you get these like maps with heat points of different themes that are like within your data set. And again, these are very subjective and between the line themes that you wouldn't pick up with like keyword search or your traditional tool. And what's exciting is that these kind of maps include not just explicitly stated insights, but also insights that were buried deep within the data that even the human writing them may not have been aware of, but the model picked up on it and saw the connections between different points and showed it to you in a map like this. We often use this type of application for identifying themes across many things. Users write in a chatbot, so we launch an AI application to the public. People are interacting with it in many ways. We take their interactions and create these kind of heat maps on it to understand where is there a potential use case that we haven't really realized, how are people using it in an unexpected way, and how is it breaking when they are using it in an unexpected way. So pattern recognition is a big deliverable of AI agents. Again, to stretch us beyond the typical, this can also be applied to psychological assessments like personality tests. So here we applied the Enneagram test, which is a popular personality test, to develop a conflict resolution aid. Unlike typical questionnaires, here the questions are generated on the fly by the model. So based on the responses you gave to previous questions that asked, it'll strategically choose what question to ask next in order to paint a fuller picture. And in the end, you get an informed recommendation on conflict resolution, which you can continue to expand to follow-up prompts. So here you can see the model deduce insights from information provided and use those insights to guide its further behavior with you, read between the lines, and agentically decide where to move the assessment from there, which I think is very exciting and very underutilized capacity of agentic applications. And as for our third point, we kind of talked about this already, agents are most famous for being able to do things on the internet for you. Book flights, digged up data, we've been inundated with ads where we can like go and schedule an appointment and even recruit employees for you. But again, to think a little bit outside the box, I want to emphasize that the breakthrough here is not that it can do these things for you, it's that it can do them like you, as in it can replicate the way you have been problem solving within your organization, your proprietary methodology, and it can replicate that in how it navigates the internet or your database and arrives at decision-making points. So you can really leave your fingerprint in technology in the way you've never have before. It is your zeitgeist and capacity and methodology for resolving problems. You can now offload that into an automated software, which was not possible before AI. Let me check on the time here. Okay, so we're in 20 minutes. Yeah, let's definitely cover this part. So let's talk about how to identify the lowest hanging apple in order to embark on your agentic endeavor. I'm guessing a lot of the folks here haven't applied their first agent in their workflow just yet. So let's talk about like where is the best place to start. The key questions to ask here is, where will an AI agentic automation integrate most fluidly into your existing workflow? Where will there be less resistance from humans? And where is it going to be just like a puzzle piece in the puzzle, just fix a pain point and really get people excited about future agentic applications? Another question to ask is, what existing data and tools will you need to connect in order to perform that task? Because the more data and tools you need to connect to a particular task completion, the more sophisticated that agent's going to be, and the less of a lowest hanging fruit is going to turn out to be. Likewise, what additional context, instructions, and insights will you need to convey to the agent in order for it to do its job well? The way I like to think about it is, imagine an intern just walked into your door. You can assign them any task you want. The intern is very smart. It read the entire internet front to back. But it has no idea who you are, what you do, why you do it, and how you do what you do. So you need to give like pages and pages of context and instructions. It's like, okay, this is how we do things. Use your infinite amount of knowledge in order to do things the way we do them. But let's talk more about like how to identify the task where you want to first apply your agent. So in order to identify the task ideal for an agentic application, what you're going to want to do is something called task decomposition. And the goal of this exercise is to break down your existing processes that humans perform and break down until each step of the process is transparent and simple as possible. The problem is that many steps we take to realize a company goal, because they're done by humans, a lot of things are done unconsciously in our heads. This conceals opportunities for automation. And when you do find such an opportunity, you fail to convey to the model what needs to be done because you didn't properly elucidate and bring into awareness for yourself how it is that you did that thing that you did. It's kind of a caterpillar with 40 legs. As soon as you ask it how it walks, it trips on its own legs because it just does. And this creates a problem because then when you try to convey that to a model, you just assume that it understands what you understand, and then that runs into a lot of issues. So, for example, you're writing like a thought leadership blog. And when you think about it, you're like, okay, so when I write a thought leadership blog, I read articles, I identify consistent themes, I collect certain data and articles. But wait a second. That first step, actually, I don't just read articles. I go to specific sources like Google or LinkedIn, and I scan them and choose the most relevant information from there. But even that step is okay, but what do I query? What do I write down in Google or LinkedIn search in order to arrive at my search results? There's a specific logic and thinking pattern behind that I've never really described to myself, never needed to, but now you need to explicitly get it down on paper, how it is that you do what you do. And this part of the work is quite empowering because it allows you to do a lot of the work that you need to do to integrate AI agents ahead of time, long before you've like hired a dev team or invested some financial resources or touched the line of code. You can start doing this right now. And I bet for a lot of project and product managers, it is probably something they've been wanting to do for a while. I know I have. It's just good documentation. It's good hygiene. And we've all been taught that this is something that good project management should involve. But let's face it, a lot of us kind of like didn't give it due credence, and did not do it as thoroughly as we wanted to. And we should, because it'll prepare us for AI revolution, and it'll kind of just make things better here and now. There's a story of a customer service agency which just decided to go a thorough task decomposition and documentation purely for the sake of integrating generative AI into handling their customer calls. But to their surprise, their human reps got better at handling calls as a result. Why? Because, well, now they have all the documentation that they can turn to in times of ambiguity. They're like, oh, great, I have the exact rule book on how to behave in every single context. Humans get better and you prepare yourself for AI. It's a real no-brainer. I highly suggest you start with task decomposition as soon as you can. But okay, so now let's suppose you finish task decomposition. What to do next? How to decide which task would the agent be best in realizing? Well, there are things that agents are good at. There are things that agents are not good at, no matter what the ads tell you. What are agents good at? They're good at creative interpretation. So wherever you need themes or continuities in natural language, put natural language in there. They're good at reading between the lines, summarizing, rewriting, and analyzing sentiment, applying a thinking process into new areas. They're great at finding connections between concepts that don't share keywords. They're like understanding the hue and the undertone of words. That is something AI is good at. And also extending insights. So like based on these factors, what might customers prefer next? They can extend what you know into new areas and apply insights into new mediums. So that's all great and all. We've never been able to do this, and that is a great application. But what if you really don't want to apply generative AI into? Well, things like numerical retrieval, looking up prices, dates, specifications, or deterministic processes where it's just like if-then logic, no buts. You just want to be something to be done exactly the same way every single time. Horrible use case for AI because you inject creativity into it. It will make things different. And as a result, you'll just insert bugs where they are not welcome. And another part is things that require high precision, high stakes, like financial calculations or compliance checks or something that's facing an external partner. Go and insert AI into that, you'll shoot yourself in the leg. Because again, its whole point is to introduce creativity into what you do. You don't want creativity into how you decide your financial calculations. The IRS will be on your case, and you can't just point to the AI and say, well, they did it, so it's not my fault. I'm going to skip through just looking at the clock because I really want to get to the interesting part. What I'm skipping through is like how to scale your AI agent to be fit for the job, how to make it lean and not over-engineer. And I'll be happy to cover that after hours, but in this half an hour, I want to get to the juiciest part. And I think the juiciest part for you will be how to like start building a skill set within your team today in order to prepare it for the AI revolution that's coming. Like task decomposition, this is something you can start doing right now. It requires no financial investment in technology. And like task decomposition, no external partner is going to do it for you no matter how much you pay them. AI applications are unique in how much input they require from the client. We constantly have to do reality checks when a client signs in to do a project with us, and they think, well, they'll just pay the money and get their personalized AI software in the mail at some amount of time. Reality is there's a lot of commitment and collaboration with existing members and domain experts on your team that needs to happen in order to transfer your unique methodologies and thinking patterns onto the agent. So whenever you sign on to an AI project, expect a large commitment from your folks on your payroll. Don't think it's like an outside partner is going to do it for you. Because building, integrating, maintaining, adapting agentic applications all require at least some skill set from your team, which you cannot fully outsource. So let's talk a little bit about these roles and how they're going to help you out by fostering them within your team. And I wouldn't think about these roles as in like that person does that role and this person does this role. Think of it more like skill sets, which are diversified and kind of like percolated to different degrees within your team's skill base and somebody might have a multiple of these at once. So I'll start with the most obvious. You could really use a technical guide who helps non-technical contributors understand how generative tools work. Because the thing is, there's a specific logic in how these models work, and that logic informs how your team can best contribute to making them more personalized. And I'll offer an example from personal experience. We were once helping a publishing company automate their blog posting and public content generation. But when we sent the generated content to the editorial, they did what editorials are accustomed to do. We took a piece of paper with some generated content, they took a red marker and were like, this word is wrong. This sentence is weird. This should be written like this. And to a prompt engineer, that's kind of useless. They're like, well, I can't use this. I need general advice about like the content as a whole. What did you think of the 10 generated articles, not that one specific article? I need general instructions to convey to the model about how it's supposed to do different things differently. I don't need these like line editings. And so there's many nuances like this where the technical guide needs to provide insight to your team. Okay, so this is like how you impart change onto a generative model in order to guide it in the right direction. I think this is the star of the show. Project managers and product managers are really getting a renaissance in their importance when we move into the AI revolution, because they need to facilitate communication between two domains which never really had to work closely together before. What I'm talking about is domain experts, so people who know their stuff, who are experts in their field and who do like the knowledge craft within your company, and the developers who you hire or foster who will be building the tool. The thing is, like, the developers will be doing the legwork, but you'll still need somebody who will be guiding them in order to personalize and really reflect your company culture in the tool. And project managers are imperative to do that. Another skill, which kind of arises organically, I inadvertently became no-code ninja myself by just playing around. So what's happening is, alongside the AI revolution, there's a second quiet revolution, no-code app development tools. You can build quite sophisticated operations and software without ever writing a line of code these days. And these no-code tools are very useful at those initial stages of development. When you're trying to get your head around, like, what am I building and how is it going to look in the end? The no-code tool will be limited and you'll only get to a minimal viable product, but this goes a long way in you conceptualizing what are the key decision-making points and how my app is going to behave. And it'll be way better to make them in the beginning and way more costly to be making them down the line. So creating like an initial prototype really helps get people on board and get people thinking. Then, of course, there's a prompt engineer, which I gave my own name because my wife is a civic engineer, and I just don't think this art form should be called engineering. But to get to the point, somebody who understands English and understands how models respond to English. You can foster this within your team by just having somebody interact with a model on a daily basis. And eventually they'll get an intuitive feel for how models behave. And I think the most kind of undervalued input is the UX architect. Remember when, I'm kind of dating myself, when computers used to interact like this through DOS, where the only way you can convey to a model is to write something down in the command line? That's kind of where we are in our AI revolution. Like, we have to write things down in order for it to do something. This is very not user-friendly. And if English is not your first language, or if your writing is just not your thing, this is very difficult. So this is a really like place where the AI revolution can take off. There's kind of still no YouTube, no Wikipedia version or Reddit version of AI. We're like in the young internet days in that regard. So like how to interact with these models and how to create an interface that is intuitive on how to work with the data, there's a lot of potential there and a lot of like creative thinking that could be done there. So the UX architect is really like the deal breaker in your team and how successful it is in integrating AI. With that, I'm going to wrap up. Looks like we fit into our 31 minutes pretty well here. Thank you so much for joining, and please check out our course if you want more of the same, but 18 times more with insights plus hands-on instructions. I'm going to take a minute, just 1 minute, to take a water break. Otherwise, I'm here for literally as long as you want me to be. Please stay for questions. I love a more conversational format. And if not, best of luck in your journey and hope to see you on the internet. All right, so 1 minute water break, and then I'll be back.